House, and yes, it's great to be back in Marion County. I think I made at least a half a dozen trips down here during my 2 erstwhile campaigns. I can't imagine how an individual who can go out and run 2 statewide campaigns in the course of 2 years, lose both of them, and have his stock go up. It's really a remarkable phenomenon. It occurs only in Iowa, and I'm very honored to be here tonight to represent Governor Rick Perry. I think we have a great host of candidates, and it's great to see Mr. Everson here. I look forward to meeting him and chatting with him. I know Governor Huckabee, and I see representatives from many of the other campaigns here tonight. What I'm here to talk to you about is something that I think is important, and that's 1, his record, 2, his leadership, and 3, his dedication and service. And those are the things that I think are the reasons that I chose Governor Rick Perry as an individual who I wanted to put my efforts behind in this election cycle. I think the record speaks for itself in the state of Texas. When Governor Perry, of course, is a Texas A&M grad, and I can't help that. And he is, the fact that he has a degree in agriculture, and I think that's a positive. He was served in the Texas Senate. He was the Commissioner of Agriculture, was the Lieutenant Governor, and then the Governor for 14 years. One of the longest serving governors in the history of the state. And during that time, the state of Texas was split. It was not a red state, it was a purple state. And it wasn't until he became governor that he began to push a conservative agenda in the state that the state finally tipped red on every state office and in the legislature. Those are important achievements when you think about the demography that we have in the state of Texas and the great diversity that they have down there. And this comes on the back of several things. 1 is tort reform. This is an incredible thing. And today we have 36,000 more doctors in the state of Texas than when Governor Perry took office. 36,000 more doctors. We also have down there regulatory reform, to lighten the load on businesses. And this is one of the reasons that we have such exponential growth in the state. We also have the notion that we go down there and 75 times Governor Perry has signed tax relief in the state. And finally, education reform. We hear a lot about education reform from candidates. We hear a lot from the national government. Where we ought to be hearing it from is from the states and local governments. And this is what has happened in the state of Texas. State of Texas was at one time had a high school graduation rate in the middle of the pack. Today, it is near the top in high school graduation rate. And among minorities, people of color, it is the highest in the country. Now, folks, that does not happen by accident. We have people who come out there, and because of these efforts and the push to do these things, these 4 things that help make the state of Texas what it is. 2.2 million jobs created. If it had not been for the state of Texas during this latest malaise that we find ourselves in, the United States would be at a negative 400,000 jobs. That's the difference. So that's the record. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the things that go on here and some of the things he wants to do. And those things are important to us because he believes in tax reform. He believes in, and nobody has done more on immigration than he has. The fact that he sent the National Guard and the Texas Rangers to the border. That's a very important and a very brave and courageous act on his part. We have also the idea of what he's done with his life. He's married to a nurse, and it's a wonderful relationship that they have. And what he's done for veterans is unbelievable. All of it without notice and without bringing attention to himself. This is one of the reasons that I'm supporting him, that it deals with his notion of service. Now, we come from military families, believe it or not. Governor Perry's father was a tail gunner at B-17s. My dad was a B-17 crew chief. He went to A&M, I can't help that. I went to the United States Air Force Academy. I graduated from pilot training, and so did he. I went on to fly fighters. He flew the C-130. I want to tell you, I know what it is to go on active duty, and he did that without a silver spoon in his mouth, and he did it because he worked hard, and I know what it took. My son and my daughter-in-law are members of the United States Air Force on active duty, and I can't think of anyone I would rather trust as Commander-in-Chief of the United States than Rick Perry. Thank you very much for having me here tonight.